snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a book review, and this is a book that I was actually sent for free from the author, but of course I will tell you guys what I think about it, whether it was good or bad. And the book that I'm going to be talking about is called Digitarum by Derek Bailey. So I was sent this for free, as I've just told you guys, but I was quite intrigued by the premise and it sounded quite interesting because basically the blurb talks about a kind of reinvention of life and these beings who have to essentially make a world. I am going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 star rating because I definitely felt like there were some really good elements, but equally there were some things I would have liked to be expanded upon or developed more. So let's get into what it's all about. This story focuses largely on creation, and it definitely draws on a lot of different religion and a lot of different mythology. We basically follow this world where we see the inception of the world, where these kind of magical creative creatures are made, and then we see them grow over time, develop over time, kind of develop personalities and personas, and also start creating a world. And we follow this world throughout the whole lifespan of the world, from its very, very early beginnings where they're creating a man and a woman and things like this, up to the end of the world. And what happens, and does it end, does it continue, we don't know. So that's a really interesting idea, and I definitely like the fact that we drew on lots of different mythologies. It wasn't just Christianity that was being referenced. There were a lot of different ideas that were brought in, and I like that. We follow 5 godlike beings, as I said, and they basically begin on this world without any knowledge of who or what they are. They don't know anything, they don't really understand why they're there, but gradually this purpose kind of grows in them and they start to create a world. I really like the way that this story was written because it had this feeling as though it was being read aloud. It had a very kind of folklore, fairy tale feeling to it, as though someone was reading it aloud to you, even though I was sitting reading it on my own. It had that kind of conversational feeling of kind of maybe a little bit of exaggeration here, maybe a little bit of kind of expression in the way they were talking there and things like that. So I really, really enjoyed that style of writing because it seemed to fit really, really well with this style of book. It seemed like it was a really good way of telling such a vast story in a very short space of time without it kind of losing its way or anything. It's only about 120, 130 pages, so it's not a long story at all, but I definitely felt like we covered a huge amount of time in that, and luckily it didn't feel hugely rushed. It just felt like it was kind of taking its time, going through all the major events and politic changes and things like that. However, even though I did like the writing style, the length of the book generally for me was very, very short. I tend to read a lot of very, very long, very dense books, and that's what I really, really like. But if you don't like that and you like a shorter version, this might be a book that you'll really enjoy. For me, it just lacked a slight bit of development on various different things because it was so short. It couldn't have a huge amount of development, obviously, and it definitely had this kind of mellow feeling as it was being told. It felt like it was just a mellow, chilled out story. There wasn't really any sort of very, very intense action or anything that was really tragic. Like, there was no real emotional connection that I had to the characters that made it so emotionally tragic or wonderful when events happened. But it's definitely an entertaining story. There are definitely things that happen that I didn't expect and I enjoyed. I think that the characters that we meet within this story are more thought-provoking than anything else. I didn't connect with them on a I really want them to win or lose or die or anything like that kind of level, but I did really wonder about the ideas it brought forward, and I definitely felt like it was thought-provoking, it was interesting to read about. I didn't feel a real attachment to them, but the exploration of different ideas and the kind of reimagining of certain folk tales and religious documents in this story was really interesting. It was basically the evolution of a world on a much smaller scale, and it was quite an interesting thing to be able to consider this small scale world and how all of the big political events or whatever that happen on our world today would be such a big issue if it was a smaller world and a more compact population. It's definitely a thought-provoking story, and for the length that it is, it does pack in a lot of world building and development on the world, because obviously that's what it's about. However, personally, I love a good character that I can connect with, and I didn't really have that in this story. I think if you like a really interesting, thought-provoking, exciting mythological story, then this one is really good, and it's very easy to get through. The writing's very accessible and easy to connect with, but the characters didn't really draw me in quite enough. It depends what you're looking for. If this sounds like something you would like, I think it's pretty cheap on Kindle and stuff, so you can go buy it. But I would love to hear what you guys think of this if you do end up picking it up, or just from my review. Definitely leave me comments and let me know your thoughts. I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, as I've said. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very, very soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.